Hello, this is the instructions for my Hot Toys 1/6 scale DeLorean tire transfers. These are dry transfers. If you haven't used them before, they are pressure sensitive and they are finicky. So you want to take your time, and I highly recommend watching the full instruction video. One important thing is you want to keep this wax paper in place at all times until you are actually ready to apply them. So while you're cutting them apart, leave this and do not touch the back of the labels directly with your fingers at all, because the oils from your fingers can affect how they adhere. The other thing is you can use the Charlesworth Dynamics logo or the DeLorean logo as a test decal if you want to try it out, either on the tire itself or another object. Just keep in mind that if you do them on the tires, you will need to then remove them, and that is removed with alcohol. And what I found is that my tires have a bit of a weathering splatter on them, and the alcohol will take that off. So just be aware of that. So it's nice to do it on the actual material that you're going to be applying the final decals on, but if you don't want to remove any of that splatter, then do it on something else as a test. The other thing, and I do talk about this later, but it's worth mentioning right now. If you do mess up, but let's say you only mess up like a letter, the rest of the decal is beautiful. There's a spare front and a spare rear, and you can cut out just that letter to try to fix that one goof up. I do go over how to do that at the end of the video, but just keep that in mind as an option. So with that, let's show you how I typically cut these apart to apply them. So I've cut them apart and right through the middle right there, and they should be ready to go. There is one extra set per sheet in case you goof up. You want to make sure that you position these so that the logo is the right side up, and you want to make sure that the tires are clean and dry. Now, I made the mistake of using alcohol on mine, and the problem you run into is that at least on mine, there's a faint weathering paint that's on the tires, and it kind of rubbed that off. Not a big deal to me, but just be aware of that. You may want to just use soap and water, but make sure it's clean and dry. Use like a dust cloth or a lint-free cloth to wipe it off so you have a nice clean surface. Okay, so we're ready to apply the decals. So I've actually trimmed this a little bit more since I did it the first time. I trimmed it as close to the decal as possible while still leaving some room to put the tape. We're going to use Scotch tape, and you want to try to not get it over top of the decal as much as possible. So I've put it right on the edge of the decal. You want to keep this paper in place until you're ready, because the decals are pressure sensitive, and you want to get any finger oil on them. We're going to line up the white curve on the rim, and we're making sure that it looks pretty parallel to the center logo. And we're going to gently rub the tape down. All right. So again, try not to put too much pressure on the decal itself. And you're better off with too much tape than not enough. All right. Because you don't want this moving around on you at all. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now, applying these can be tricky to begin with, and it's even more tricky with these rubber tires because they have give to them. Typically, you're applying these are more like plastic or metal or something like that. So we got to make sure we rub this down really, really, really well. And it's ideal to have something it's called burnishing. To do this with is have something that has a little give to it. So like your fingernail is not a bad choice, or I like these cuticle sticks or orange sticks. Just something that will have a little give to it and be able to really press down on this well and get into the details. So I'm just gonna start. And unfortunately, with white transfers, it's really hard to tell when it's stuck. With colored transfers like red or something like that, you can actually visually see it separate from the backing. And you can't really do that with white ones. So after you think you've rubbed it down really, really well, do it again. Almost every time I end up not rubbing it down enough. And what will happen is you'll get remnants of the decal remaining on the backing paper. Okay, so now what we're going to do is once you think you have got it, you're going to just release the bottom part so you can hinge this up and take a peek. We don't want to take the tape off the top at all. All right. If I was smart, I would have did a little fold over to grab onto the tape with. Okay, we're gonna slowly lift this and see if anything is still sticking to the backing. If it is, we're just gonna put it back down and rub more in that particular area. And from your angle, you're not gonna be able to really see it, but it looks good to me. So I think we're okay. There you go. And you'll notice there, this is the rim guide. That might actually stick a little bit. So you can see we got the F there. You can just use your fingernail or your burnishing tool to scrape that off. If it's really being stubborn, you can use an alcohol, a swab with a barely dampened with alcohol to get it off. Just make sure you don't get it anywhere near this. If you do make a mistake and you need to use one of the backup stickers, this will come off with alcohol, but you will end up taking that splatter pattern off of your tire most likely. So I'm just cleaning off the rim. Looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm gonna cut away for a minute and I'll get the other one taped up and we'll put the bottom on. Okay, we've got the bottom decal taped on just like the top. We're going to rub these down again. All right, so I made a little catch tab on these this time to make it a little easier to lift up. All right, I'm gonna peek. Good, good. I think we're good. Oh, I can see that it's not quite down right here, so I'm gonna rub this a little more. All right. I think we're good. Yep. Okay, get the letter off. If you take this all off and you notice, oh, there's a little corner sticking up or something, just take actually it's best to take the tape off and just take the backing thing again and lay it on there and just give that little section a little rub and you should be good. So we're just going to repeat the same process for the rear tire and then flip it over and do the other side. Well, I'll show you how I propped it up on the other side to be safe. Okay, I figured this is good to show you. I messed up an E. I pulled it up before it was completely stuck. So to fix that, so everything else is great. So as I said in the beginning of the video, we can use just one letter. So first thing I do is I scrape as much off as I can with my burnishing tool or something else, being careful of the other letters. Now the scary part is then I'm going to use a swab barely dampened in some alcohol. I'm going to very carefully wipe that away, keeping away from any of the other letters because this will also take off those letters. Pretty good. Make sure all the alcohol is dry. And I've cut out just an E from my spare sticker. And in this case, I'm just going to eyeball it. And you just really need to make sure you do not get the tape anywhere near the other letters because it will pull it off. All right, gotta very carefully. And there we go, fixed. So yeah, if you have a mess up, try doing just the one letter. But this is the rear tire done. All right, this is how I recommend propping it up to do the opposite side. I have a towel that's shoved under there to cradle it. It's not touching either the tires. It's also keeping the tires up off the board. And then that way we will make sure that they don't stick to anything. So just make sure that the tires aren't touching your work surface and the towel is not touching the tire surface. So take your time, lots of tape, lots of rubbing. And if you have any questions, just put them in the comments. Thanks.